and what we instill in them today will carry with them tomorrow. All right, let me go ahead and set my timer now because I want to make sure that I get all of this out in an appropriate amount of time. Hello everyone, it's Shanae, Cartwright, Success Strategist, and today I wanted to come and talk with you all about this is a response to a very, very popular outcry regarding the Netflix movies, Cuties. Have you seen the movie? If you haven't, you might want to pause because I may give away some of the movie. You may have heard about the controversy that was stirring, but this is my response, finally, my response to what everybody has been talking about this movie with Cuties. I saw a YouTube video by a very popular YouTuber. He's a Christian influencer and YouTuber by the name of Marcus Rogers. And before I even get started, let me say this. This is not an attack against Marcus Rogers. I am never in a place to attack any one person nor to gossip about anyone. But I wanted to come and set the record straight and share my experience and my takeaways from this movie. The movie Cuties, it debuted on Netflix in September of this year. So just in the midst, in the thick of everything else that we had already had going on in this year, the pandemic that was going on, racial tensions, we're dealing with political climax of the election, so many things going on. And then we are hit with this movie Cuties. Again, if you have not seen it, this is a spoiler alert. I may share and reveal some parts in the movie. So please stop watching. No, don't stop watching. I want you to watch the movie Cuties and then come back to this video. Cuties was one of the movies that I saw so many headlines about. And then I even learned that Texas, a grand jury in Texas had indicted Netflix about this movie. So of course I had to figure out what was going on. And being the minister that I am, the chaplain that I am, coaching and, working with people all the time, I use current events. I use certain movies and things as examples for my work. And of course, just in passing in past times, you may have a conversation with somebody and something may come up. So I like to be aware of what's going on. I don't dibble and dabble in every single thing that networks or television stations or some of these streaming services put out. But every now and then I like to be aware of what's going on. And I believe that just because I'm a Christian or a minister does not mean that I'm going to be hid under a rock. I need to know what's going on. And there was a time where I was a youth minister and I really, really made sure that I knew what was going on because our youth were being exposed to so many things. And this is one of those prime examples where I feel like the church should be more aware of what's going on. And sometimes movies, sometimes music can really give you a bird's eye view of what our youth are experiencing. If you listen to some of the music and some of the lyrics, you can hear and see how just the dark forces, the spiritual realm, some of these things that are really entrenching on our children. And we really have to be careful. Some of these things that our children are being exposed to, we have to be careful and not be oblivious to what's going on and think, well, they're children and they're growing up. You got to know what's going on. You have to ask questions, but I digress. That's a whole nother topic. Let me say this. I'm going to be reading a little bit from my phone so that you can get some information. So the Cuties was a Senegalese French director. So the movie was directed by a Senegalese French director. I'm going to try to pronounce this name. Maimouna Diakhouré has created an evocative, compassionate portrait of young girls finding their identity and values in this controversial film. And this is coming from a review right on Google. Cuties is a thematically bold yet nuanced study of displacement and duty that deserves to be seen as an auspicious and astute debut, not the source of scandal. Y'all, I don't know why my nose is itching, but excuse me. Anyway, so there you have it. Real quickly, just a quick synopsis of what to expect for the movie, right? So let me tell you my take and my review. And I wrote down some of my notes. The movie is starred by an 11-year-old. Her name is Amy in the movie. The cast is starred by, let me see. You get the point. A lot of these names are different languages, so I don't want to butcher them anymore. But a great cast, great group of people. Basically, the core center of this movie focuses on these 4 young girls. Amy is at a place in her life where she has a change in her family dynamic. So I didn't really get everything 100% of what was happening to Amy's parents, but I guess in her culture, it was okay for her father to have another wife. So he finds this other woman. Her mother is distraught. She's breaking down on one of the scenes, and you see her crying, and Amy is hiding under the bed. So she hears what's going on, and it's like now Amy is preparing to have this other woman come into her life, and her father is going to marry this other woman. Of course, this is cultural, so this is something that is accepted where they are. Secondly, Amy is dealing with, because of this change in her family dynamic, she's dealing with finding her identity and finding herself. She teams up with this group of girls, and of course, initially they don't accept her. They don't want her to be in the group, but she owns herself. She learns how to dance the dances that they're doing, and she begins to join the group. Now, of course, because of her coming into this group, there are things that they do that are risque. Now, I will say, and I agree with Marcus Rogers on this, a lot of the dancing was provocative. It was evocative. It was distasteful. However, how many of us have not danced crazy? I know for me, I grew up in a very strict household, and when I got out on my own, I was exposed to things that I had no business being exposed to. I would dance in ways that I know was distasteful, that probably grieved the Holy Spirit, that did not show me in the light of a godly woman or a Christian young woman. So here these young girls are, and I say girls because they are girls. Amy is only 11. I don't even know how old the other ones are. But these young girls, they are dancing very provocative, very risque, and they're practicing for some type of contest. They all pretty much can dance, but the dances are very suggestive, and it shows them in a light where they are dancing before their time. I'll say that. And that, I believe, is what most of the controversy was. But y'all, if you watch this movie was, for me, besides the dancing, it was a breath of fresh air. And let me tell you why. You know, a lot of you all have seen things worse than a girl in a movie dancing crazy. I know people who you've seen pornography. You are seeing women being date raped. You're seeing people who are being abused, sex trafficked, the whole gamut, the whole nine. A lot worse than these young girls who are dancing for maybe in and out, maybe a minute, 30 seconds to a minute per clip to a song. And the point of them dancing this way is, again, oh, that's my timer. The point of them dancing this way, again, is to be in this dance group, to perform in this dance competition. But there's so much more that is packed in the middle. And I guess when I saw Marcus Rogers' video, I was rubbed the wrong way, because I felt like he was a person who didn't even see the movie. And I think sometimes what happens within the body of Christ as Christians, we are very quick to be critical and judgmental. And I know I have. And I'm going to say that I have been that way. And I'm still asking God to help me in that, where we are so critical and judgmental of things that we see. And we don't even look underneath to see what's really going on, or what's being said, or what is the message that this is sharing. There was a deeper message than just girls dancing provocative. It wasn't girls dancing provocative the whole movie. When you look at Amy and her situation, again, I share that she has some family dynamic changes that she's going through, and she is being directly impacted by that in her life. We don't know her young mind, what she's experiencing, how she feels about it, and, you know, how she's really learning to adjust and adapt. We just see that this is what she has been subjected to, and she has to just deal with it. I believe that her outlet became that group of dancing. It's no different from a youth or a teenager who is in an abusive home or is dealing with issues at home, and they find an outlet such as gangs, such as drugs, such as sex, unfortunately, and they find a place where they feel accepted, they feel like they belong, or they feel like they are heard. And as the church, this is what we have to really look out for, because some of our young people, our youth, are crying out for attention. You have some youth that you have no idea what they are dealing with at home behind closed doors and their four walls. And you would be surprised some of the conversations that they're hearing, some of the words that they're being heard and what's being spoken over their lives, what they're being subjected to. Either it's abuse, whether it's just maybe a crisis in the home, whether it be financially, physically, whether it be something with their parents, marital issues. You just have no idea what they're going through, and they find outlets. That's why it's called an outlet. They find outlets, things to get into. And I believe that this is what the movie was showing. It was portraying this young girl and how she found herself. She really found courage with these girls that were dancing, yes, provocatively, but she found a voice through her dance. She found a way to express herself. And let me say this, when I was growing up, I loved to dance. I was on a dance team. That's why extracurricular activities are so important for our young people. I was on a dance team, and this dance team, I felt like I was so alive. I was a very introverted person, very to myself. But when I was in this dance troupe, I mean, a whole side of me came out. And I think many people who were maybe knew me or just in my circle, they were surprised as well. And I remember the teacher one time telling me, "Look at Shanae. She dances like she was created to dance." And at that time, when I heard that, I felt like I had found my purpose. I said, oh yes, I'm dancing. I'm going to dance for the rest of my life. But looking at this young lady and how she found herself and her identity, it was so life-giving. And then you look throughout the movie, there are different things that happen, of course. You know, she has a issue with the girls. There's some type of rift, and she ends up going separate ways, and then she ends up coming back. I know I'm telling the movie, but you got to see it for yourself. I told you that in the beginning. And there's this dress, and I will never forget just so the way the director put this together. There's a dress in Amy's closet, and I believe that she's given this dress, because I watched this months ago. I believe that she is given this dress early on, like it was a gift from her mother, and it was almost like the dress just sat in her closet until her father was preparing to marry this other woman. So the dress was sitting in the closet, and every time something changed within her life, the dress would change. The dress would change. And so looking at the creativity of the director and how she put that together, I thought it was amazing. There was one part in the movie where I believe she started her cycle. And that's the thing, you don't really know. The dress can't talk. So you're really kind of going with the flow, and you're putting pieces together. Matter of fact, I'm going to watch that movie again, because it was a great movie to me. There was one part in the movie where I believe she started her menstrual cycle, and the dress is bleeding. And I know it sounds eerie, it sounds maybe disgusting, but the dress, it starts like dripping blood. And so that it can mean many different things, but I believe that that's what it was. And I believe there was one part of the movie where they showed her being soiled. It really showed how cell phones and social media have been a detriment to the generations before us, and even, or the generations after us, so after my generation and even my generation. So that Generation Z, Generation X, Generation Y, depression is at an all-time high. And so if nothing else, if you feel like, well, I'm interested in watching this movie, I think you should watch it. Now, if you have younger eyes, maybe 8 and below, because, you know, kids are being exposed to certain things right now that it's like they already know what to expect. I would say this. If they're really, really young, 3, 4, no, they're not appropriate to see that. They're not at the appropriate age to watch it. But I would say 8 and up, with guidance, let them watch it. but definitely have a discussion with them about it. After you've watched that movie, maybe on a Saturday, you all are kicking it at home, get some snacks, have some questions prepared. Maybe screen the movie first. Responsible adult, that's something that you can do. Screen the movie first, review it, see whether or not it's something that you want to allow in your home. Write down questions, and then if you do decide to go forward and watch this movie with your family, have a Q&A session at the end. Get their take on it. It will really help you to understand how your children think, how your teens think, how your spouse thinks about certain things, where they are, and how they look at the worldview of these young girls who are finding themselves dealing with life issues and identity, and what they think about the pressures of life and how they handled it. Because what I've learned, or what I feel, is that families are not getting together and having conversations. We're just looking at things, and we're kind of isolated, even in our thoughts, even in our conversations. I think families need to get to the place of going back to having conversations, real conversations about social issues, about political issues, about religion, about faith. You need to get back to the place of having these conversations so that they're not so impressionable when they get out in this world and you have to worry about somebody talking to them. They've already had the conversation with you. You really have to start early, because the world, if you look at it, if you realize that the world is going after our young people at earlier and earlier ages. There are young people who are 7, 6. They are being exposed to sex, y'all. They are seeing things that they should not see until they are 18, 20, married. And it is horrible, because this is what the enemy is trying to do. He's trying to beat you at raising your child. He's trying to beat you at exposing your child to sex the godly way, having the right conversations, making sure that their hearts are guarded. The enemy is out there lurking, you all. So if I could say anything about the Marcus Rogers situation in the video that he put out, I feel like he really didn't see the video, because if he would have saw the video all the way through, he would have saw at the end how Amy, somehow they showed her going back to being a little child. It's like she broke out of this dark hall and she was running. And I love the imagery in this movie. She was running. It's like she was running for her life. And what I really feel like, she was running back to finding what really mattered in her life at that moment, which was being a child. She was running, and the next thing you know, she broke out of this door, and there were kids everywhere playing and dancing, as kids should be, in the street. No provocative dancing, no suggestive music or lyrics, no half-dressed girls. They were in the streets, and it was beautiful. And I believe that that's what Marcus Rogers missed in his review of Cuties. I think what he did was just jump to being very critical of the movie. And I think maybe as a man, that's another perspective that I didn't think about. As a man, maybe he was guarding himself and guarding his heart to not see that, because they were young, innocent girls. And he just saw, maybe in the early parts of the movie, these girls who were dancing suggestive. Maybe so. I don't know. If you know somebody, if you know Marcus Rogers, maybe send him this video, send him this YouTube, and let him listen to me and what my perspective is. But as a young woman, as a woman of God, I think that every person, you should watch this movie Cuties, and you should take your own assessment of the movie before you say boycott Netflix. Because what they did, all they did was share the perspective of this director and these writers. And we don't know, maybe these writers and these directors, maybe these were real life events that they had taken from their lives, and they were sharing what they experienced. Now, I will say this as well. Some people may be on guard or anti this movie, because I believe in the movie Fatima, or Amy, who was the main character, I believe her family is of Islamic faith. I could be wrong, but I don't believe it was Christian. So that might be why some people are up in arms as well. However, the movie is very relevant for today. In a nutshell, this is what I'll say, and I definitely have gone past the 10 minutes. The movie was very relevant to teenagers, to young people who are trying to find their identity, to people who are being influenced by maybe groups that they feel like they can be included in, but the groups are not for their best interest or their well-being. So this was a dance group, but we know that we see so many things with gangs, people who are quote unquote wannabe gangs, people who say this is my posse, my crew, things, because they're not occupied with their time. Use this as an opportunity to watch this movie and see what you can do in your community, how you can make a difference. What conversation can you have with a young person? What conversation can you have with your child to steer them in the right direction, and even maybe some of your children's friends? I know that this is a very pivotal time for our young people. When I say young people, I'm talking K through 12, those who are still in school because they're learning virtually. So they're still being exposed to certain things. They have cell phones, they're on social media, TikTok, the list goes on. And we need to be able to have those conversations with our young people. As you can see, I've been talking about this for a long time. So that lets you know that I am very passionate about our young people and what they are exposed to, because I understand that our youth are not the youth of tomorrow. They are our youth of today. And what we instill in them today will carry with them tomorrow. I pray that you have maybe been sparked with a different perspective of the movie Cuties on Netflix. If you've not watched it, again, go ahead and watch it. This is not an endorsed video. I'm not getting paid to tell you to watch Netflix or the movies Cuties, but I do believe that it is a movie that everyone should watch, especially if you have children, teenagers. All right? God bless you, and always remember that a mind change equals a life change. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.